This is FirstOffTheBike.com's Ironman Cairns review show. Phil Rockner, Luke McKenzie and Craig Alexander just having a chat about what happened today thanks to our good mates from Toyota Australia. And boys, congratulations on your day. Second for you, Crow. First for this man here in Cairns. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Pretty stoked?
Very. Relieved is what I am. Put a lot of hard work into this. It has been a goal of mine for probably the last 6 months to target this race. I sort of took the leap of faith of just doing one Ironman this year prior to Kona, and I needed to do well. 15th last year didn't really get me a lot of points, so I needed to have that day today. And yeah, I'm happy with the way the year's progressed because it's progressing quite similar to 2013, and I've followed a lot of the same training, same racing, and today. It didn't all go to plan actually. I think 2013 came a little easier. This was a lot more hard fought, and yeah, but I'm super happy.
Let's just quickly dive off to the 70.3. Crower, your race had some really good hitters in it, yourself included. There was Sam Appleton, Tim Reed, Tim Burkle, Clayton Fattel. There were some good names there. Pace-wise, starting pretty tough. You got out fourth. You had a good time out there in the water, and then it all went down the road quickly.
Yeah, no, mate. For my day, I was quite happy, to be honest. I've had a fairly uninterrupted 7 weeks of training and had a good swim, good start. As you mentioned, some really good swimmers in the field, and I was fourth out, just a handful of seconds behind the leaders. So, but yeah, the pace was on from the start, predominantly from Appo, from young Sam, and also Timmy Reed. So the three of us distanced ourselves from the main field fairly quickly, and then Sam went on to distance himself from Tim and I. And I was happy with my day, to be honest. He was just too good today. I had a bad patch on the bike for about 20 kilometres at the end, and he extended his lead by 90 seconds, and that's all he needed. And he closed it with a great run as well. So yeah, I was sandwiched between coach and athlete, which was unusual. Sam's obviously coached by Timmy Reed, so
Tim's doing something right, clearly.
Mate, he looks to be a great.
Fees, I think.
Yeah. He looks to be a great coach. I mean, Sam's had a great year. I think he's won most of the races he's been in. He and Tim between them are two of the most consistent guys on the circuit, and I guess if you're looking at the global picture of 70.3, you've got Javier and Jan, I think, are the two standouts, but those two are certainly on the next step. So yeah, it was great to see a good field assemble in Cairns, and on the women's side as well, I think you had world-class names, Carolyn Steffen and also Annabelle Luxford. So yeah, a couple of hard-fought races there.
Yeah, the women's race was won by Caroline Steffen, of course, and she was, I guess, she benefited from the penalty that Annabelle Luxford got, getting caught up with the men in the race. And we spoke to them after the race, and they were very concerned by this, and I think both of them felt the need to vent, and they certainly did, about just getting caught up. It's a hard case for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing is, it just seems to be an ongoing issue. So, if the girls really feel it's impacting their race, I think we need to look at it for sure, and I'm not sure why we haven't, to be honest. I think above all else, the integrity of the event has to come first, and it seems to be a recurring issue at every event that the girls feel like their race is being impacted by either teams. I think it was team bike riders today. So, I haven't given too much thought to what the solution could be, whether you need to space out the waves or a bit more strategic on maybe putting the faster age groups towards the back of the field. And I'm sure they're going to blow up about that because they're not going to want to ride through people. But when you're talking about people who make a living from the sport, that they were upset about it, and I think
rightly so. Yeah,
rightly so. I think we need to come up with a good solution because we've been talking about it, but talking doesn't seem to be solving anything. So.
Yeah, they weren't happy, and I guess too, when you get them and they're a little bit tired and emotional from the race, like all athletes are when they cross the finish line. After a big event, they were certainly quite content to talk to the media about that. And you're right, it does something that does need to be addressed at some point. But look, for that race as well, they basically ran a little bit of a two-up time trial, the pair of them, and out on the course with them. They're just so super strong and very impressive. Annabelle Luxford too is super impressive, isn't she?
Yeah.
The fact that she's just so consistent, she continually has high results. Looking forward to across now to the Ironman race. Your event, your start was great. The gun goes off, everyone ran this way, you went that way.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Yeah, no, my mate Brett Carter came up from the Gold Coast, a good friend of mine, and he's very cluey on surf, conditions. And
Bulldog.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. I mean, he probably, I mean, I don't want to bag him, but I mean, probably doesn't appear like the smartest tool in the shed, but the sharpest tool in the shed. But yeah, he really, gave me the confidence to make that move, and he said, mate, you can make some time there. And you know, I ended up getting to the Cairn at the same time as Dylan, and had, you know, that was my plan to give James and Cam no way of potentially latching on, and it worked. And you know, I tried to go with Dylan for about 200 metres and realised that was probably going to be the end of my race. So I had to make that split-second decision to let him go. But yeah, I think, you know, there was the surf conditions up there weren't easy. It was a tough swim, and you know, especially coming back in that last half of the swim, very, very choppy, hard to sight, a lot of movement in the water, so it definitely took a lot of thinking going into that swim.
Well, we did talk to the technical officials about that move that you did create there, and again, it's for those watching, it is legal. It's all legal.
Yeah, I made sure that I asked the officials before the race what buoys that we had to go around on the course, and I actually did the same thing at the turnaround. Went in line with the first buoy and dove in and went straight out to that, and apparently I made up 20 seconds on Dylan in that as well. So I think, yeah, I just thought I would have, you know, try and have the confidence to make a move like that, and it ended up paying off, because the last thing I wanted to do was start the bike with Brownie or James and then have to work hard to separate myself, and it ended up working out really well.
The marathon was fascinating. You can both speak to this. You've both had Cameron Brown chasing you. You had it at Melbourne a couple of seasons ago, and you two waged that epic battle when I think, you know, you both went low 240s. You had him, even though he was in the rear vision mirror, he was still there. What's it like when you've got Cam Brown running behind you, that metronome you just know is ticking over?
Daunting. Yeah, no, I mean, Brownie is a legend of the sport, and there's, you know, obviously a reason why the guy's won 13 Ironmans, and just ultra consistent. Yeah. And I think, you know, you just know that Brownie's rarely going to have a bad race. So
that's the daunting part.
Yeah.
You can't rely on him to underperform.
Yeah, and honestly, 13 minutes coming off the bike, I knew I'd have my work cut out. Actually, I thought he might have made a bit more of a charge earlier, and I think, you know, you know, once I got to halfway and still sort of maintained most of that lead, I got a little bit more confident. But you don't ever want to give Brownie a glimpse, and so I just didn't want that, you know, that deficit to get closer to 7 or 6 minutes or something, because probably game over at that point.
Yeah, it certainly was an interesting run for you, and again, you started that with an empty tank though, stomach troubles, and there was not much going on, so it was a little bit of battle of wills, emotionally getting through that. We talked a little bit about that prior to this race, about, you know, facing adversity. For you, did you it really had to dig to get that win? Yeah,
like I said, it was a lot more hard fought than the win in 2013. I had some issues on the bike. About 120 kilometres, I just started rejecting all my nutrition, and generally that's
a nice way of saying rejecting, isn't it?
Yeah, vomiting, spewing.
Rejecting.
Yeah, but it's, at that point, you sort of just, you start to worry about the future of the rest of the race, because you know that you need that fuel. And, you know, I came in, I felt like, you know, I really dropped off there at the end of that bike ride, but I was still able to maintain a good deficit. But it could have gone two ways. Once I got on the marathon, I just really needed to get the Coke and the sugar and all that back into me and hit the gels. And I'm lucky that it didn't really extend beyond the bike. But once it all got back in the system, I was running my pace that I'd planned to run. And I think just as it progressed, I started to feel better. And so I think that is, you know, I saved my race. I think it could have gone the other way as well.
And in the women's event, Liz Blatchford was strong. She was great. Again, penalised, and a little bit of mystery surrounding what she actually did. We spoke to the technical officials, and both claimed they didn't know what was really across that. So it was a swimming error, apparently.
Swimming.
Yeah, which I found surprising, given, you know, how strong a swimmer she is. She did serve a 4-minute penalty.
So total word by mouth here, but talking about coming back into the beach and then running back in, I said that I went around the buoy there, going back out the second time. Apparently she didn't go around the two between there and the next turnaround, and, you know, it's a hard one because there was nothing said about going around the intermediate buoys in the swim, so in the race briefing, so I sort of sympathise with Liz there, but at the same time, you know, I feel like I made the effort to talk to the race officials about exactly where we needed to swim. So, I mean, it's a tough situation.
When you get into those situations, Crowe, you know, what kicks in? You know, you're sitting there 4 minutes is ticking away. You know, what do you got to do to prepare yourself for that next phase so you don't go blasting off and, you know, literally, you know, blow to pieces?
I think you just got to be disciplined, and experience helps. You know, Luke's talked about his race today. You know, he didn't just win it with his legs, he won it with his head, being strategic in his swimming, thinking about his nutrition, and that's what these races are all about. It's about the physical, the preparation and the race, but it's also about navigating through the day. You know, golfers call it course management. It's not just about going tee to green, it's all everything. And yeah, I think it's okay to be frustrated and vent a little bit and get it out of your system, but you don't race well with stress. I think you just got to be calm and think, well, what can I do now? I mean, you're not going to change the situation, as frustrating as it is, so you just got to roll with it. And I mean, these races, the longer ones, they're all about damage control and dealing with this sort of stuff. And you speak to every athlete from first across the line to last, and they've had challenges in their day, whether it be penalties, drop to nutrition, whatever it may be, vomiting, and you just got to find a way to overcome it. And I think it helps to not be impulsive, just make smart, rational decisions, which can be hard when you're low on sugar and your heart rate's high, but with experience you learn. I mean, you look at the athletes, like someone like Cameron, for instance, you look at his temperament. I don't think it's any secret, apart from his physicality and the gifts he brings that way, but his temperament is very even-tempered, he's very thoughtful, and he has a lot of experience to call back on. And generally speaking, I think that's a good asset to have in an Ironman event.
And Liz Blatchford showed that, today
absolutely.
Because she was unflappable. She's unflappable, and you know, even on the course when you see her, she's getting splits from the spotters who inform what's going on. You know, there's not a lot of recognition. She's just, you know, very, very level, and I think that was what helped her today get another win. And she's again, you know, impressive at this time of the year. Of course, everyone's sort of shooting for that October impressiveness, but at this stage though, and for yourself as well, it bodes well, doesn't it, to set up the rest of your season?
Yeah. You got to go for the races that suit your strengths too, and I think that's something that I've learned personally, and it obviously is the same case for Liz. I mean, I think this event, obviously she's a 3-time champion, it suits her, so why not use that as the progression to Kona. And
Gina Crawford, Michelle Bremer also had good days out there as well. They raced very hard. Michelle Bremer 6 weeks ago was winning Ironman Australia.
Yeah, it's really good backup. I mean, that's a tough window of backup too, because it's not quite close enough. I mean, you still have to do the training in between there. So kudos to her for getting that done.
And Gina as well. She's had a pretty extensive program this year. Raced in Geelong and just consistent. Just both those girls. Those names, they're two names that just keep coming up on podiums around the world. So yeah, it was a competitive women's field, and congrats to Liz to win any race 3 times in a row is impressive. And no doubt, like Luke, she's trying to recreate what she did 2 years ago, where she won here and then went on to have a podium finish in Kona.
Well, it all tracks well for those athletes. And that's all we got time for tonight from where you're watching us live off that one, and also record on this one on First Off the Bike. Luke, congratulations again.
Thanks, mate.
Fantastic effort, and yourself, Crowe, again, another very good performance. He's building a resume that's starting to stack up now, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Just need to win a few of those Kona titles though.
They'll come. No, I'm proud of him. I mean, to come back with the pressure of being a past champion in a race like he did, it's a great result, and hopefully now we can go away and recover and knuckle down and do what he needs to do for October. But yeah, certainly racking up the wins, which is good to see.
Well, looking forward to seeing what he brings for the rest of the year yourself as well. Thanks guys, thanks for joining us, and thanks too to our friends at Toyota. This has been FirstOffTheBike.com's Ironman Cairns review show.